Meeting is being, ready? Being 7 o'clock, I will start the meeting of the Finance Committee on Wednesday, April 20th, 2016. This meeting is being recorded for television replay. If anyone in the audience is audio videotaping, they can acknowledge it at this time. Michael Roush. First item on the agenda is reserve fund transfers.
None this evening, Madam Chair.
Second item is note excused absent members. Excused this evening are John Redmond, Richard LaVoy, Jeff Perry, and Andy Roth. Discuss Charter Review Committee report and Bourne article. Mr. Newell, would you like to come up? Why don't you sit over there so
That's
your
what I was
back
going to
is
do,
to the
yes.
camera,
There are two members of the committee.
Yeah, if they want to come and sit up too, they're more than welcome.
Jim, Dick, you want? I did post the meeting in case we got a quorum and wanted to make
Yeah,
votes or
okay.
anything, but we obviously won't be doing that. How would you like to proceed on this?
Let's figure out.
Article
According to the
29.
charters, Article 29. Which says, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the general court under the Home Rule Amendment to the Massachusetts Constitution for certain amendments to the Town of Bourne Charter as described in the revised draft report of the Town of Bourne 2015 Charter Review Committee dated April 14th, 2016. A copy of which is on file in the office of the town clerk or taking action there too. So, if you would just kind of like to proceed and tell us a little bit about your process and what your recommendations are, then we can listen to what you have to say.
Okay, well, we had our board was appointed last August, and we've met basically every other week since then. We interviewed just about everybody that expressed a desire to be interviewed, and a few that I don't think really wanted to be interviewed. And we heard, we considered about 60 changes, potential changes to the warrant. And our committee considered all of them, discussed all of them. Many of them, the committee felt would have made the charter too specific as far as what actions the town administrator or the selectman or any department heads or whatever might be able to do. We wanted the charter to be more broad focused on that. And so what we focused on was trying to better define the relative roles of the selectman, the administrator, the finance committee, and the department heads. And I think we were successful in that. We had an excellent committee, by the way. Everyone participated. There were very open discussions. All of our votes were either unanimous or there were some people who had not attended previous meetings, so they abstained, yeah. But other than abstentions, we didn't really have any split votes. We used consensus in just about anything. Many of these subjects we didn't actually vote on when it became a clear consensus of the committee that this was something we didn't want to change.
Mm-hmm.
So we just let that go. We did not do as much outreach this time, public outreach, as before. I sat on the last Charter Review Committee in 2010, and that committee we sent out a survey, much as the 2005 committee got done. And Michelle, by the way, was very helpful. So both of us committees. And that survey that we did in 2010 elicited 11 responses. And we just felt this time it just wasn't worth it. So basically, most of these articles are housekeeping articles. Some of the things we have changed because they didn't work For instance, the requirement that all minutes of all committees be posted on the town website has proved to be just simply impossible. There's not the manpower to do it, it hasn't been done. So we're suggesting that let's take that out of there. There was a lot of discussion on the appointment and dismissal of the town administrator, and we chose to leave that alone. This was brought up very early in the interviews, and we asked each of the selectmen and other town officials that we interviewed on how they felt on questions that had already been brought up to us. So we had not only the opinion of the people that were proposing changes, but the same opinions from a lot of other people that we interviewed, and that worked very well. The residency requirement was also another one, and that we really struggled with. Some of us wanted to just eliminate residency requirement completely, others wanted to leave it the way it was. And currently, it's that the town administrator must be a resident of one of 3 counties, which is just silly. But we left in our recommendation, we left in the ability of the selectmen to waive that,
Right.
but added the provision that once a waiver was granted to an administrator, that it couldn't be rescinded, even with future contracts.
So you wanna just kinda go through these quickly, that might save
The
some.
whole thing?
Yeah, I think we should.
We could, I was just trying to go through the ones
Yeah,
that.
I think it would be
you have
helpful,
questions.
because not everyone, I'm not sure everyone has brought
If
copies.
you want, Madam Chair, well, we're discussing, I can run over to town hall and pick up 8
So-
copies of the
Yeah,
warrant.
that would be great, that
Okay.
would be really awesome.
So, no offense
I'll get
to,
warranted.
well, 9 then. No disrespect to Wes, but we've been through a lot of these details already, you and I, and
Oh, yeah.
committees and.
Yeah, this is not the part of the meeting which we need before we
Right,
get to the second
yeah,
part of
so,
the meeting, so
Give me a
that
few minutes,
would
I'll be
make a
back.
good use of time, I think it would be great.
I'm more than happy.
A good idea.
Should I go through these? I guess?
Yeah, you don't have to go into too much depth, but I think just to quickly go through them.
Okay, the first one, section 2.5, initiation of warrant articles. In this case, the current charter calls for closing the warrant not less than 75 days prior to the date of the annual town meeting or 45 days before a special town meeting. The issue that was brought to us was that communications are a lot better now than they were even 5 years ago. And also the ability to get the warrant printed up and all. So we are suggesting changing that from 75 days to 50 days, and for special town meetings from 45 days to 25 days. We also
Well,
suggest,
should I just make a comment here?
Yeah.
Because we just went through this on this special town meeting that's happening. So the special town meeting that's part of the annual town meeting, the handbook has to actually be published 14 days before the town meeting, so that's just a very tight window. I mean, not that I'm against it. Just before we go through this, I think that the way the charter's kind of working, every 5 years we kind of make some tweaks and we see how those go, and if they don't go, then we change them again 5 years later. But a lot of these things you have to just kind of let them go. And I was just thinking about that because that whole time compression where getting a warrant out this past Friday was really, really difficult, really.
well,
time.
this report went out on April 14th, which was 16 days before the
Yeah,
town meeting. So.
yeah.
So we're breaking our own rules.
What did you say the rule was, 75 days?
That's what it is now.
Well, it's for closing the warrant in
For
terms of
closing
what
the
the
warrant.
warrant article is. That only means that the warrant article in terms of that, what I read for Article 29, that's all that is that there was supposed to have that, was supposed to be done. If
No.
we keep 50 days and keep hold to it, that would be good.
So, but we also, the existing warrant says that the selectmen may waive these requirements for a special town meeting in case of emergency, by a 4/5 vote, and we changed that to, or we recommend changing that to a simple majority vote. And the reason is that improvements in communication allow more time for deliberation on issues before closing the warrant. In section 2.5, on initiation of warrant articles, we suggest revising the second sentence to include the selectmen's budget goals and an organization table in the voter handbook. And then there's just a typographical change there, grammatical change to change digital 5-year to spelled out 5 years. And the reason was to strengthen the importance of the selectmen setting budget goals and adopting up-to-date organization tables. And that was suggested by several of the people that we interviewed.
If anybody has a question as we go through these, just send us a question, so that we'll just.
I'm trying to roll through them as fast as
Yeah, no, I think that's good, so if
can.
any, I just, that way if someone has a question or wants to say something, they can say question, look up, because I'm not gonna keep looking.
All right, section 2.9 on finance committee. Maybe I should sit by the door. But this is wording that actually Tom found in, I believe it was in the Amherst Charter. And the committee really liked it because it better defined, as I mentioned before, the relationship between the finance committee and the board of selectmen and the town administrator. And so we're suggesting adding wording that it shall be the duty of this committee to investigate all proposals in the articles of the warrant for any town meeting that is budgetary in nature and that affect the finances of the town, and to recommend to the town at the time of said meeting a course of action thereon, and in general to make recommendations to the town in regard to any financial business of the town. It shall have control of the reserve fund of the town and make appropriations therefrom. The reason we suggest that is so that this committee does not have to act upon articles that do not affect town finances.
Trina?
Yeah, I have, one of the things that the finance committee does is offer their collective opinion to the people so that they have a sense of how to vote on all the articles. It's always been that way. And so, who does that then? Who's going to help them if they just come in out of the cold, sit down, and a warrant article is up and it's not about finances?
Should be the proponent of the article rather than the finance committee.
I think that the fact that there is a body that actually discusses it and makes a vote on it, though, it is a little bit stronger than just one person. So I would not vote for this at all. I think this is unnecessary. I don't really, the finance committee is working pretty well as it is, has been for 8,000 years. I've been here anyway, I don't know, but I just think that if we're going to have articles at town meeting, they have to be explained at some point to people. And I think, although you don't have to take the finance committee's opinion, it is at least an opinion of 10 or 12 people talking after they have talked together. And I think it's better than just a proponent coming up and having his own opinion, one person. So I don't even know who wanted this. This doesn't seem like it's needed.
I think the town administrator proposed it. And late in the process, I don't think it got really vetted with anybody else.
It was late in the process, as I recall. The committee felt that, I understand what you're saying, that's a benefit, but the committee felt that it really is up to the finance committee to deal with issues of finance and not necessary for the finance committee to be dealing with issues. The example that was discussed most widely, because one of the members of our committee is a member of the planning board, was that articles that have been vetted by the planning board, including public hearings and much discussion, then get reviewed by the finance committee, even though they may have nothing to do with finances of the town.
Bill, did you?
Yes, I'd like to give another take on that. Planning board may provide articles that will in fact impact the income of the town, because they may approve subdivisions, they may be approving new roads, they may be approving a number of things. It will have a financial impact. So to say that the finance committee, if you're talking here, that is a financial issue, that is a budgetary issue. It says right here that in regard to any financial business of the town.
Yes.
Well, that would be taxes, that would be income, so I think that what you gave is inappropriate to defend what you're saying here.
I'm only telling you what came up at the committee.
I'm telling you
But
what
the
the
committee also recognized what you said and felt that, yes, if it does have, as you have said, if a planning board action does have even peripheral financial impact on the town, then it would certainly be appropriate and allowed within this wording for the finance committee to do that.
George, did you have?
Yeah, I happen to be attending that meeting, that one meeting when that was brought up, the Amherst solution, if you wanna call it that. And I know inherent with your committee, you deal with broad definitions and redefinitions and things like that, but, and I, to some extent concur with Dr. Town, as far as the financial implications have to be addressed, and there's no real way to address them perfectly because of the unintended consequence. We don't know what will happen if a certain zoning article is passed or not passed, and its effect on neighbors or property values and things like that, where that the overall effect on the town wouldn't be too much, but it could affect people's taxes if people's assessments were to go down on a large scale. It would have to be made up by the remainder of the people of the town.
But here's the thing, George, this wording does not preclude that from happening. This wording leaves it to the choice of the finance committee to say, yes, this article affects the finances of the town, therefore we're going to make a recommendation on it. Or this article has no effect whatsoever on the finances of the town, therefore we don't have to waste our time on it.
Well, actually, there's a portion of the charter that was not changed.
Yes.
It does require the finance committee to, yeah, the finance committee shall issue its recommendation in detailed written report, which shall include the fiscal and tax implications of the proposed budget, a statement outlining its support or opposition to the proposed budget, and any sections thereof, and its vote by roll call on all warrant articles. So, I
think having, recalling back on prior years where there have been articles, not many, but there's been a handful where we've sort of collectively scratched our heads and said, well, why would we ever be qualified to vote on it? And I think having something like this, if we can bring it in line with the remainder of the language, is not a bad thing. Because we've sat here and said, okay, well, we'll vote yes, and our explanation is, in order to bring it forward to town meeting, we have no other opinion beyond that. So if we
we
felt.
sometimes said there was no opinion either, like in resolutions, we said this is the
That's right.
resolution representation, or we have no opinion, and so I think if we have, I think it's better to leave it. Brian, what did you want to say?
Well, I just want to say, Dr. Powell and George, and really everybody else has spoken. How do we know if an issue is financial or not? We can have some kind of referee or attorney decide which ones really come down to numbers.
No, it's your choice.
All right, well, I mean, there are some articles I look at on here that, gee, why are they for the finance committee, but Jane says, the articles say the finance committee presents all warrant articles to the town meeting. who else would present them then?
Well, the proponents could present it, but this does not preclude the finance committee from presenting all of this. It just says you don't have to make a recommendation.
I'm not saying I want you to.
Well, that's the thing.
But
This
see, that's
this
the
gives you the
thing.
flexibility to do
So,
that. It's your choice however you do it. We're not trying to tell you how to do
Yeah,
it.
sure.
We're just saying,
Yeah. Common sense tells you, the further we are from having any expertise in the area of the article, the more concise our presentation would be. In other words, we would probably consult with somebody from the planning board or whoever the sponsors of the article were, and just give it its due and just present it, because I've been presenting the lion's share of the zoning articles for a few years, and I usually state a real well-packaged, explanation, but basically turn it over to the, whoever the sponsor is, to let them, go into detail toward town meeting. So I think that probably makes sense, but I think it's nice to have the option not to have to, because some of these things are really, really no-brainers. I mean, resolution articles, but there's another one, measuring water quality, I guess. Can you really, that's a little stretch.
Well, but some of those easement things, I mean, having the question before the finance committee as to whether or not it has a financial implication to the town or citizens of the town, is it, that in itself becomes a question of the work. The state law on finance committees is some towns name their committee the finance committee, some towns name their committee the advisory committee, some towns call it the financial advisory committee. But it is, by state law, a committee that is set up to advise the town meeting on articles before the town meeting. And, I mean, it's, so logistically, this is now in the report. We can talk later about if there's something that we're not gonna, if there are things that we would not recommend, how to deal with that logistically is kind of a different, because it's all in one article now, it's not. So, is this, it's not wording that I would have added, but given the fact that we, by charter, still need to make, by vote, a roll call, we have to make a vote, even if it's no position, then I don't think it changes really anything. The reserve fund is, by state law, under the control of the finance committee, so it's not necessary to have it in the charter, and sometimes when you have things that are in the state law repeated in the charter, it's not necessarily, we try not to have things that are in the bylaw and in the charter, in state law and in the bylaw and in the charter, because then if anything changes, it's like 3 places it has to be changed, so.
Just, this is a very interesting question, but we call ourselves, we are the finance committee, but we are not all financial people. We're people, we're the people of the town. And we research some of the finance stuff as best we can, but it's not like, oh, they're only finance people. That's not what this is all, that can't be what this is all about, because we're more normal people than finance people. And we're giving our opinion as good citizens. And I just don't understand why you wouldn't want someone or a group to have a discussion about an article and make a recommendation. It seemed like it's worked for years and years and years and years, always,
this does not prevent you from doing it.
okay?
It
Where
gives
does
you
it
the
not-
choice not to do that.
Okay.
So it would be our choice?
It's your
Where does
choice.
it's fine.
You would-
It doesn't really.
we
Where does
still
it
might
say that
make
it's our choice?
We have the choice
It
of
doesn't
refusal, I
specifically
guess,
say.
But it's just that we put, then we would say, we have no opinion on this, but we still, to meet the state law, we still have to review it.
Okay, but in this article,
Alright, yeah,
Excuse me, it does not say-
so I think the question is now, clearly, we have some question about this part, of this addition, whether it's necessary. But I think let's move on so we can finish this.
how do we vote on a part of this if we need to?
Well, this is a problem, because the meeting that we were supposed to have early in the
Yeah.
month, when we
Snowed
could have
out.
made changes before this went to press, we could have made changes then. At this point, any changes have to be made on the town meeting floor.
Right.
Or,
Or we could just, what do you call it, when we just let it alone, don't do anything?
You can IP it.
IP it.
No, it's the whole article.
Yeah.
So we are going to have
You
to
have
talk
two,
about the logistics of
Right, you have two
dealing with
changes.
sections of this.
You have two shots at this. You have the chance at town meeting, and you will have a chance when it goes to legislatures, because there will be a hearing.
Well, I'm not gonna wait till
Yes,
next
I'm
week.
just, well, I'm going.
Well, I mean, I think the question that we need to know
Make the school bus we can
logistically,
all go.
if we take a vote as a finance committee that we do not recommend changing section 2.9 or any of the other sections, how we will deal with that in terms of the motion of the finance committee on this article. It's not a question for tonight, and we're not gonna vote this tonight, we're not gonna vote it till the 25th or maybe the night of town meeting, but it's something that we'll need to discuss.
MJ, you can make a motion on town meeting floor to divide the question
Well,
at that
yes,
time, and that's when you can separate it.
right.
And the moderator would probably work with us in making that
Yeah.
happen too, but, yeah, just, this will be the last words on the meeting anyway. But I think, in a way, I like this because it would force us to review an article that it's not definitely financial, but, just to kind of look at any consequence by our giving it short shrift and just saying, okay, we're not gonna have an opinion on this, or we're just gonna vote, yes with no opinion, you know, and just not even present the article. It would force us into, you know, justifying doing that, which I kind of like in a way, because it doesn't, you know, that's a recurring question, is why are we reviewing these articles? They're not,
But if we
Yeah.
have, here's another question about the logistics of the way we run town meeting now. And you say the proponent. So if the finance committee is not gonna be reviewing articles and not gonna have a position on an article, it's clear going into town meeting that we will not be making the motion on the article. And so if it's not, then it's gonna be the proponent, it's gonna be the board of selectmen, or the town administrator, or the finance director, or the capital outlay committee, or, you know, whatever, whoever it is that's a proponent, the private petitioner. I mean, even now with private petitioners, oftentimes we make the motion, just because logistically making the motion and having the second is a logistical thing of town meeting works, that we present the articles. I mean, it's more of a methodology for how we run town meeting than anything else, and so it's the selectmen's budget, but it's the finance committee that makes the motions, and so.
And you could still do that, it's your choice.
Okay, can I just say one more thing? Because I think this is a very weak reason that this wording comes from the Amherst Charter. You know, to me, that's no reason at all. This doesn't seem to be a reason why this exists.
Many of you attended meetings, particularly the last few meetings, when you saw how I was struggling to try to wrap this up and get it out to town meeting.
No, I only heard about it.
Yeah, you would have heard about it, right?
I did hear about it, I think Dick talked about it. Since an audience person wants to talk.
Can I say something about this?
Sure, Jeff.
Okay. I was just wondering how much time you would save if you didn't have to go through the zoning board of appeal, you know, planning board articles, ZBA, CPC, which can't go before the town meeting without.
I think we have to go through the articles anyway. The way this is written, we're actually gonna spend more time debating whether or not we should be debating an article than whether or not we agree with the article. And so I think it's actually gonna create more, discussion and more like, well, is this something the finance committee should do? So, well, I think it is. I mean, we could spend 20 minutes talking about whether or not we think it's something versus having the proponents come in. It's, to me, going before the finance committee is a way that the public has of hearing every article heard, and 12 people or 7 people or however here ask questions about every article, and it's in the paper, and it's on TV, and it's there before the town meeting. And if we don't do it, who's gonna do it? Because the Board of Selectmen doesn't always, I don't think at this point, the Board of Selectmen has taken positions on all the articles. They haven't sat down and questioned all the proponents on all of the articles. And this is the job of this committee, this advisory committee.
As it's written now,
Yes.
as
And
it's written now.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
And
But
I'm not in favor of this change. I don't think it benefits the town, and I don't think it benefits the finance committee.
So
well,
how-
I don't, I'm biased because I'm on the CPC, and I don't like to see the proponents for a CPC article first come to open space, then go to the CPC committee, and then come here to explain the same thing to
But
three
they don't
different
have to
committees
come
is
here. That's
a
the
waste.
choice. That's their choice if they wanna come and make their presentation. All we need is all we need is the CPC committee to come and make a
But
presentation, and that's the
if
only
it can't go to
public
town
one.
meeting floor without CPC's approval, why does it have to go to the finance committee?
Because this is the only independent group that's looking at it.
And
Well,
I
you
would
got
argue,
all the town meeting, people are there are looking at these articles, they
But-
know what they want.
and I would argue that the review the finance committee has brought on CPC articles has increased the professionalism of the proposals that are brought forward to us with bid specs, and, you know, we've looked at these specific technical experts to bring information forward. When we first started reviewing these, it was, you know, somebody on the CPC committee went out and did this, and I think it's gonna cost this much money.
Yeah.
And we've had multiple instances. It's been the
Right,
finance
it
committee's
has-
pressure that has enhanced the process.
Alright,
But-
so, but I still think, you know, I'm gonna disagree with you, Michelle. I will agree with you that it has been enhanced over the last 5 or 6 years. But I think that it's gotten to the point now where the CPC and the people that they represent are much more in tune with what is required and what's needed.
This wouldn't change anything, because CPC is definitely a financial.
It's got nothing to,
It's how the 3% that people's taxes are being spent.
you don't control
Yes.
that 3%.
We can have an opinion on whether it's good.
We don't control any of the taxes, we just.
We don't control anything.
Well, that's true, that's true. But this does not go into the general fund or anything like that, it's a separate fund
Right.
controlled by the
But
CPC.
the citizens have given into that.
Right,
Right. So therefore,
And
we
they
are
are the ones that
citizens
make the
saying, is it a
decision.
good idea?
yeah, but, yeah, okay.
Madam Chairman,
I'm not gonna argue the point with you.
I think we should.
Our committee spent 8 months debating each of these articles and debated them very rationally. Nobody had a agenda to push or anything on most of these. And if we are going to re-debate all of them tonight, it could take another 8 months.
And I wanted to do this
And I'm not
now,
gonna
so.
serve another 8 months on this committee, believe me.
So I think we've got, we can talk about this at our next meeting.
Yes, can I just ask- there is actually no way to actually take some of this out at this point, is that what you're saying, Tony?
Correct.
That all of this has been done, and you either approve the whole thing or not?
No, you can amend it up to, I mean,
We can make a motion,
We
we
can
can
amend
make a
it on
motion
town
to divide the question.
it's just, our committee cannot make any changes now that this has
Yeah.
been published.
We can make a motion to divide the question and recommend that these portions be voted as recommended by the finance committee, and then these portions be voted individually. And I think there may be a couple things that have to be handled that way, so the logistics of that we can work out. All right, let's go to 3.3.
You notice I did make that medical change.
Yes, but there's actually another one. All proposals and articles for a town meeting that is budgetary. All proposals of the warrant, and that are budgetary.
Are we having some English problems?
3.3,
Those don't usually slip by me, but a couple of them did.
it's tough, believe me, I had like a bunch of people find stuff in my finance committee report that I read correctly.
Even after, well, I shouldn't say it, I suppose, but even after my committee approved this, as I was preparing the final document, I found a couple of things.
You can't help it, because your mind is what's supposed to be. It's, all right, 3.3, policy role of the selectmen.
Policy role of the selectmen, and this one, once again, right now it says that policies and goals specific to each policy shall be filed with the town administrator not later than 45 days after the regular spring town election. And we are suggesting that be changed from 45 days to a date specific, and we're suggesting it be July 1st. So that the selectmen policies and goals specific to each policy shall be filed with the town administrator not later than July 1st after the regular spring town election. And then the existing says, individual selectmen shall have no independent authority unless specifically voted by the Board of Selectmen. Selectmen shall deal with administrative agencies and departments only through the town administrator. That's existing. And it also says, nothing in this section shall authorize a member of the Board of Selectmen or a majority of its members to become involved in the day-to-day administration of the town agency. We felt that that was almost a double negative. And what we have suggested is that we first change the 45 days to July 1st, and then add at the end of the first paragraph, and also published in the town report, so that the selectmen's goals and policies should be published in the town report, is what this change would do.
And well, the other thing is policies and goals specific to each policy is changed to annual goals as voted by the Board of Selectmen. So what this is talking about is their annual goals shall be, shall be filed with the town administrator not less than July 1st. When you have your trip.
Yes, that was the next one.
After the regular, so that's.
We'll try anyway. But once again, this is to emphasize that the role of the selectmen is to set policies and goals, and not to be, administering the town, which is the role of the town administrator. And then we also, let's see, we wanted to take those last two sentences from paragraph 1 on the, which were added, I think, the last time around, about individual selectmen having no independent authority and so forth, and move that to the second paragraph because it just fits better in there. And then replace that first sentence in the second paragraph. Because it's so strangely worded now, we just want to reword it, but it has the same effect to say, selectmen individually or as a board shall not become involved in the day-to-day administration of a town agency or department. It just makes the reading of that much more clear, I think.
So this is a very, very important part of the new government that we chose so long ago now, that the town administrator run the government and the selectmen choose the town administrator and watch over him.
And we felt it still needed to be
And
further
It
reinforced.
still has to be completely reinforced, because nothing is more fun than getting involved in the town departments.
Okay.
I know, because I was the selectman one.
Any questions about this one? Okay, 3.5, moving right along.
Okay, this one, let's see, Board of Selectmen shall appoint town administrator, town council, and so forth and so on, and all multi-member bodies for whom no other appointment provision is made in this charter bylaw. And we would add to that, representatives of boards or committees specified as members of any committee shall be designated by their respective boards or committees.
What does that mean?
That means, for instance, on, the wastewater advisory committee, which you serve on as a member of the finance committee.
Yes.
It says,
Yeah.
the choice of you being the person from the finance committee that serves on that committee is the choice of the finance committee,
Right.
not of the select.
Oh, yeah. It's always been,
No. In the past couple of years, the selectmen have opted that it is their committee, they make the appointment, the finance committee or another committee would make a recommendation as to who they would wish to be their member to the board for approval.
I might add that, I'm gonna move this later, but it says in the finance committee part somewhere that you shouldn't belong to any other committees.
Yes.
So, but that got ignored somehow, and we're all on committees.
Well, and I actually, we sort of talked about that being up, but except
A lot,
for,
yeah.
but, there's been a town council opinion about that, unless we're serving as a member of the finance committee. So I think there's, on the capital outlay committee, the bylaw says there's 2 members of the finance committee. On the wastewater advice, whether the bylaw committee, there's a couple of committees where we serve only as a member of the finance committee, and if we leave the finance committee, you're off the
Oh,
committee,
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
on the, you're not on that committee
Understand.
anymore. So those are the capacities.
When I first moved here and was on the finance committee, however, we were on no committees. except our own, because that leaves you to be an independent body when you rule on things that come before you from committees. other committees.
We struggle with that too,
Yeah.
the fact that you're not supposed to be serving on any others, but it's written right in to many of these committees
Right,
that, you know, we'll have a member of the finance committee, we'll have a member of the planning board, we'll have a member of, Board of Health,
Right.
another one on the, wastewater committee. And what we're saying is that the designation of that person should be its home committee, not the board of selectmen.
yeah, oh, true. I wonder though how it affects when they bring things to town meeting, and you have a friend on the finance committee.
Yes,
That's the whole
indeed.
deal, you know. I mean, I've represented,
That
I'm
was
on
not the
the
question before,
wastewater
so-
committee, and I do the wastewater articles. A little bit.
But I think it works, because I think you come to the finance committee and you talked with knowledge about what the wastewater committee has done, or I talk about what the capital outlay committee has done, and then the finance committee makes a recommendation, and the finance committee doesn't agree with something. I've never found us to be reticent and to say that we don't agree, whether there's a finance committee person on the committee or not.
Makes perfect sense. If you know about the wastewater committee, why wouldn't you be the expert on that?
Okay. Anything else on 3.5? 3.6, prohibitions.
3 point, yeah. Right now, it says that, no member of the Board of Selectmen shall serve on an appointed town board established by this charter, bylaw, by town meeting, or by the Board of Selectmen for which the Board of Selectmen is the appointing authority. And then it goes on to section A, and then B says, no member of the Board of Selectmen shall hold any other elected town office or full-time town employment during the member's term of office. We're suggesting the words full-time be taken out of there. We don't think anybody holding an elected town office should be a town employee. And then C, it says, no former member of the Board of Selectmen shall hold an appointed town office for which compensation is paid or hold full-time town employment until 2 years after that former member's term of office on the board is expired. And we are suggesting on A that be revised to read, no member of the Board of Selectmen shall serve on an elected or appointed town board or committee established by this charter, by bylaw, or by town meeting, unless otherwise specified in the charter, bylaw, by town meeting, or by other applicable laws. Because once again, there are even state laws that say, yes.
School building committee law says a member of the Board of Selectmen, so, if it's to comply with the law, then.
And mainly, all of these suggestions are to make the wording clearer in here. We really didn't change much at all, other than taking out full-time for employee. We don't think any employee, I think it might be any employee. And then on C, no member of the Board of Selectmen may be employed by the town within 2 years after that former member's resignation or term of office has expired. And once again, it's just cleaning up the wording so that people can understand it. So that's it on that.
4.1, appointment qualification term of the town administrator.
Yeah. In this case, one of them is just a grammatical change where we took out the numeral 1, which really annoys me to like that, and just changed it to a word. As long as we were changing the sentence, we figured we'd change that. But the main change here is that if the Board of Selectmen does not select one of the candidates presented by the search committee within 30 days, then the search committee shall resume its search. And several of the selectmen said to us they didn't think that was long enough time to properly vet candidates, particularly with a part-time Board of Selectmen. So they want the 30 days to change to 60 days, and that's what we're recommending.
It's 2 months.
basically 30 days is an inadequate time to schedule and conduct interviews. And while that might have been appropriate when we got full-time selectmen, we didn't feel it was.
It's also the process, I mean, recruiting takes a long time, you think about what you have to go through, coordination of meetings and getting people, you know.
We talked about making it even longer.
I mean, they could do it, if they could do it within 30 days, they could do it, but if they can't, it gives them time to do it without having to restart the search that they haven't finished, yeah, whatever, it's over.
All right, this next one,
Switching.
also in section 4.1, the Board of Selectmen by an affirmative vote of 4 members shall appoint the town administrator for an indefinite term. Once again, we'd like to change the numeral 4 to word 4 and change indefinite term to a term defined by contract. And the reason for that is there are 2 interpretations of indefinite term. One of them might be that it's an unspecified term, which is probably what the intent of the charter is. But the other interpretation is that it's a lifetime appointment. And
Okay, go ahead, so.
His sentence to lifetime.
seriously, that's what we were considering. So we said, well, just change it to whatever the contract calls for.
Great, okay, I get it.
On the next paragraph, do you have a grammatical error there?
Oh, probably.
And when it comes down, it says within Barnstable, Bristol, Plymouth County, with 1 year. Should that be within 1 year?
Yes. That's further down the line here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in the next section.
We're still on,
Oh,
well,
so
we're still in
that makes sense.
4.1,
We're still
but
with one.
we're still on the part on the indefinite term.
Oh,
term
sorry, I thought you were
contract.
going
Okay.
If you want to move on to this next section, yeah, there probably is residents within Barnstable. Let's see. We want to break this paragraph into 2 and require that the administrator establish primary residence in the town of Bourne.
Is that what this currently says? I think currently says with 1 year.
Right.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so-
That's current, that's
Oh,
what current.
I'm
So that's-
my
Yeah,
copy
he has
is,
a different copy, yeah.
I haven't got the most recent one.
Oh, it's in the book, it's in the book. That's
Okay,
it.
I recognize, I haven't got.
Yeah, we were making changes right to the last minute.
Sorry for that.
Yeah. So we just did, the 2 changes here, one is, the committee, as I say, some of us felt that there should be no residence requirement at all.
That's all right.
The committee, however, the consensus of the committee and the final vote was unanimous that we change it to 1 year. But that still could be waived by the Board of Selectmen. But then we also wanted to protect, if they bring someone in who's highly qualified and lives in Hanson or something, and then give them a waiver and then decide somebody in the selectmen doesn't like them a year later and wants to rescind it, we're saying, no, you can't do that. Once you grant a waiver, because it does make a big difference.
Huge, where you live.
I worked for years as a town planner and a county planning director, and in each case, was just assumed, I had to move into town within a year. Didn't think about it, but that was 40, 50 years ago. And things have changed now, people are more mobile. And very often, our first town administrator did not live in town. And he was highly qualified, and it wasn't a problem, so. But anyway, the committee felt that, and the people we interviewed were pretty strong on that there really ought to be a residency requirement as long as there is a waiver provision. So that's the way we're doing it.
I think where you live has nothing to do with your qualifications
Okay.
and how good you could be at this job. you know, and I would really hate to lose a good person, because they don't wanna move. Moving means you have to take your whole family and uproot them in schools and everything else. I think it's a undue qualification.
Well, that's why we left in that the selectmen can waive it, but then we added that once they waive it, that's a permanent waiver.
Any questions? 4.4,
4.4,
temporary absence.
temporary absence. A lot of discussion on this one. But we're saying that, the way it's worded now, the town administrator may, by letter filed with the town clerk and board of selectmen, designate an acting town administrator and so forth, or somebody else, if his absence or disability exceeds 30 days. And we are suggesting change the may to shall, so that this is a requirement, that if the town administrator is going to be gone, we want to change the 30 days to 10 business days. So if the town administrator is going to be out of the office for more than 10 business days, he or she shall designate another qualified person to act in his behalf while he's gone, he or she is gone.
I think there is a typo there.
Probably.
Right in front of greater than 10 business days, I think it should read, if the absence or disability is greater than 10 business days. That makes a big difference in the meaning of the sentence.
Yeah, I see.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I think that's something we could,
We can put, I think these are things we can.
Well, and then what will happen also is when it goes to legislature, we can fix it at town meeting floor.
I think we
but
could
they will
mention it
also
like any
clean it.
other, I mean,
Yeah.
we've mentioned like typos before, Bonnie Lane is Bonnie Land, you know, Bonnie Lane is Bonnie Lane, okay, so, yeah, we can fix that, yeah, it's a good call though.
And Michelle knows well, when you're writing one of these reports, you just crank away at it.
oh yeah. Doesn't matter how many times you read it.
Right. It's, what they say, measure twice and cut once.
Yeah.
I measured twice, it was still too short. All right, section 4.6,
Yeah.
powers and duties of the town administrator. And once again, here we were trying to reinforce the policy and goal role of the selectman versus the administrative role of the administrator. So we are suggesting in here that one of the powers and duties of the town administrator, as it reads now, is to prepare and submit an annual operating budget and capital improvement program and budget in accordance with section 7.1 and 7.2 of the charter. And we would add, and in accordance with the policies and goals established by the Board of Selectmen.
And so do the Board of Selectmen have policies and goals every year? Do they do them every year?
Eventually,
This change says they should.
no, they, right,
No, they don't do them every
they
year.
do, them every year. Well, they do.
And they don't make
Well,
it
they should.
public.
Well, they're
They
supposed
should, and there's a posting, yeah.
This is to try to reinforce,
Right.
that's the selectman's job.
It is a selectmen's job, and you
Earlier,
keep saying it.
earlier in the charter, as proposed this evening, it provides that those need to be done by July 1. There have been times where it's been post-July 1 or post-45 days as it was in the prior charter. And July 1's about 45 days.
It's about 45 days.
So, yes, each year, at some point, the selectmen have established goals. I don't want to have anyone out in the audience or here think that they haven't, they have. And they are public, and they are well vetted at 2 or 3 different selectmen.
And where could we find them if we wanted to? I
In
mean,
the
are they on
minutes
the
of the
website?
selectmen's meetings,
Are they on the
they are-
website, written out anywhere?
they should be. I don't know if they are this year, because they were late this year, but the override was a goal for this year, and that took quite a bit of their time all the way
I don't
through.
know.
Well, the purpose of this is to emphasize the importance of having the town budgets based upon adopted policies and goals.
Right.
That's good.
And that will help both the selectmen and the town administrator.
Continuing 4.6 on F, the Board of Selectmen, one of the duties of the administrator is to keep the Board of Selectmen fully informed as to the needs of the town and make recommendations to the board. That's the way it's worded now. And that just seemed awfully vague to us, and we were suggesting it be changed to say, keep the Board of Selectmen fully informed of all issues and potential problems or needs of the town and make recommendations to address such issues and problems. And this is just to clarify the administrator's obligation to keep the selectmen informed of all issues and problems that they may address.
What kind of conversation did you have around, that's pretty broad, all issues and potential problems.
Yeah.
I have this conversation with my boss every week, and his definition of an issue sometimes is not the same as mine, and I don't have a very good crystal ball about potential problems. And potential problems smacks of trying to foresee the future, which in hindsight is always 100%.
Wrong.
Yeah. Of course you knew this was going to be a problem, you should have told me about it. Well, of course I didn't know that it was a problem, nor did I foresee that it could be a problem.
Right.
So how did you come up with language that you could drive a truck through?
Well, one of the things we struggled with through this whole process was trying to avoid having the charter micromanage
Thank you.
how departments were run, or the administrator did his job, or the selectmen did their duties. And once you get too specific on these, you're talking micromanagement. So what, and I wrote this word for the committee, and the reason behind it was, it's really vague now, let's make it less vague. So vague.
I'm just concerned that this could be used punitively.
You know, I like the,
I like the concept, but I'm concerned about the word.
under reason, you almost say it more succinctly. Clarify the administrator's obligation, or it is the town administrator's obligation to keep the selectmen informed of all issues and problems that they need to address. To me, that seems much more gentler.
Oh, to actually change the wording to that.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that?
I thought it's pretty simple, and it doesn't make a huge potential problem. That's a scary one, because what one person thinks is a potential problem, another person might not even think it. You know, so it's a tough one.
It is.
Anyway,
Well, I like your suggestion.
okay, good.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, moving on to 4.6M, which was the duty of the administrator to fix the compensation of all town employees and officers and so forth. And this was a request that came from one or more of the selectmen to add the word, and inform the Board of Selectmen of all changes in compensation made. And they say, it just adds on there that several selectmen stated that they had not been made aware of large changes in compensation made by the administrator.
I'm gonna read that one alone.
And we wish we could have.
I don't know why I have that, that sounds pretty scary stuff.
But this is an easy thing to do, so it's not onerous.
Okay, good.
And how do we define large?
Well, all changes in compensation made within 30 days,
Yeah,
you know, so,
other than what's already authorized by contract. We had a situation this year, the minimum wage went up, and we had to bring rec department folk and people at the marinas up to minimum wage. Now, that's not something, you know, it's in there, they know that, so.
okay. Yeah.
5.1.
Go ahead.
Table of organization. Currently says the town administrator shall prepare for submission to the Board of Selectmen a table of organization establishing personnel requirements within the town agencies created by the charter, by the bylaw, or by administrative code. And we suggest replacing that entirely with that sentence with the town administrator shall submit a table of organization establishing personnel requirements within all departments to the Board of Selectmen by June 1st of each year.
And then that rest, then the table, so it should become effective unless rejected, that would stay.
That,
right?
yeah, that stays in, that hasn't changed. The current charter does not require an annual review and sets no deadline. So the table of organization doesn't, it says you gotta update it.
That's fine. It's updated as it's needed to be updated.
Yeah, so it's gonna be, I mean, this is the tableization for
Yeah.
this fiscal year.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
didn't change from
that's
last year, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
it doesn't say you have to change it, it just says you gotta update it.
Yeah. Okay, any questions on that? Yeah. Okay, 5.7, police department.
Oh, yeah, we struggled with this one. References to appointment of the police chief and fire chief were included in the charter when it was drafted in 2000, but removed in 2007. And right now, there is no reference whatsoever to the police department or the fire department in the charter. So what this does is, in Article 5, which is administrative organization, which, specifies the, Department of Public Works and Icewind and a couple of others, that we add a police department and a fire department. The wording on here was suggested by the police chief, and I edited it because, and particularly on the, partly because there was a lot of grammatical errors, and Dennis didn't make the grammatical errors, he borrowed it from somewhere else. So I edited it to make it read better and remove grammatical errors, and then I also removed all gender references, because particularly on the fire chief, it kept referring to the chief as he. And so I changed it just to say the fire chief. But other than that, but basically what this does.
Both sections are written by the chief of police, as opposed to.
With concurrence of the fire chief.
So they work together.
They work together, like Dennis is the one who did some research on this, and I don't know where he found these, but the wording, this was a fairly contentious issue in our committee, in discussion. And this wording seemed to work for just about everybody. Both chiefs have signed off on it. Tom signed off on it, and the committee felt that this was a good way to present it, to put the fire department and the police department back into the charter.
So it says, so the chief, the fire department and the police department don't report to the town administrator, or they do?
They do,
Okay, thank you.
but they have, it's a civil service department, both, and they have various controls over the running of the department and the civil service. So this allows for the appointment of the chiefs with the provisions of the veto by the board within 14 days, all that. But the concern was with, to be sure that the budgetary control came back through the town administrator and then into the budget. This worked. This was a good compromise. I will say on all parties it was a compromise that we all were able to shake hands and smile about afterwards. This will work very well.
So then, I had heard things about like a strong chief and weak chief.
Yeah.
And whether or not they were gonna report to the selectmen, which I thought was a terrible idea.
This provides both chiefs the authority granted to a strong chief as to the day-to-day operations and setting rules and regulations and line staff organization, that type of thing, which they need. The town administrator can't be jumping in to a police department and that type of thing. So it allows for them to continue on with, with no interference on how they run the department, rules and regulations, all those types of things. But it does assure the budgetary process stays here and that the appointment process stays here.
Okay.
And it was a very, very well-written draft, notwithstanding the language.
Well, it's actually kind of
Objection.
interesting, yeah, go ahead.
Just one, in the fire department section, Let's see, the chief of fire department shall have and exercise all powers and discharge all the duties conferred or imposed by statute, blah, 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 and shall appoint deputy chiefs and such officers and firemen, maybe firefighters would have been a
Oh, missed that
better
one.
word.
I tried to make it gender neutral. It's-
Yeah,
Well, you know, we have,
There may be,
We have women
is there a
serving as
general,
selectmen.
he, she,
Yeah.
gender clause in someplace in the charter thing?
I think there is,
Yeah,
I think we
I
put it
mean-
in the last time
Yeah,
around.
you know, he could refer to she or.
Right, right. Section 6.8 in the Housing Authority, this is one of the first things
Can
we,
we just go back to
Oh,
this-
sure.
something on this? What I thought was interesting, and I didn't pick it up the first time, is that in the fire department section, it talks about within the budgetary constraints as may, shall be subject to further limitations in the town by time to time. An expenditure of money the chief of the fire department shall be subject to further limitations as the town may from time to time prescribe. Okay? But there isn't anything about that in the police chief as well.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's missing from police. Should-
Dennis.
Good job, Dennis.
clever man, that police chief.
This may have come out of the, I don't know.
That's why the fellows.
Dennis, nicely done.
We can make changes on the town meeting floor.
All right, so that's a question, I don't know if it's addressed otherwise or not. I particularly know that in the fire chief, strong chief thing that they had talked about the budget, you know, but, you know, that's subject to the,
So
limits
let
of
me,
the town.
in general, is the budget of the fire department and the police department overseen by yourself?
Yes.
Because I think
I
that's
think-
important.
I think this may be statutory, the strong chief in the fire
Yeah,
is much stronger than the strong chief language in the police for whatever reason. And it goes back many, many more years, so I think this may be part of that.
okay. I mean, I don't know if it's a problem, but.
I don't think it's a problem, but,
And they should.
Not with Dennis, but.
no, Dennis will
Because
definitely
he's
won't
like,
think it's a problem.
Yeah, but.
Dennis is real good about, and so
Money,
is she.
but this is not
This is
personal.
prospective,
It's
yeah.
to the fire,
Yeah.
the police chief's position as opposed to, just,
Yes.
you think about that, whether
Yeah, I don't,
research it out. see
I
what
will,
we can
I'll
do.
take a check on it, but I'm pretty sure it's the way the original statutes are provided.
There was some pressure within our committee to actually specify police chief position and fire chief position. And I chose to change that to police department, to fire department.
How many firemen were on the committee?
Two,
Just two?
and one retired.
Okay.
And they did not vote on this, by the way. They abstained.
Good.
They participated in the discussion, but they abstained on the vote.
Okay, 6.8 housing authority.
All right, this was a real easy one. Barry brought this to our attention at one of our first meetings, and we voted it on the spot. The current charter says that housing authority members shall serve for 3-year terms, but the state law says they will be 5-year terms. We just want to bring the charter into line with the state law.
Just to say, we'll do what the law says. Yeah.
Long-term financial forecast, 7.3. We just want to add, let's see, the first sentence says, the town administrator shall prepare annually a 5-year financial forecast of town revenue, expenditures, and general financial condition of the town. And we're suggesting we add to that sentence, which shall be submitted to the Board of Selectmen as part of the annual budget message. And the reason is this change makes a connection between the 5-year financial forecast and the annual budget message so that it is more likely to be followed.
Move on.
Okay? 8.6, procedures for multiple member bodies. This was the one that required that minutes shall be posted on the town website for at least 5 years. And we just say, take that out of there because it has become a real burden and it just can't be done. They don't have the personnel to do it, it's or not necessary. The records are kept by the town clerk, and they are available to the public at any time. This just says they don't need to be put up on the website.
Excellent.
And then the last one in the definitions, since we talked so much about goals and policies, a certain Mr. Conlon suggested that we probably ought to have definitions for those.
Okay, I'm glad I got some words in.
Did.
Yeah.
So we're just saying add the following definitions for goal and policies to the list of definitions. Goal being the desired outcome of a policy, program, or other action, and policy being a statement of preferred practice.
Okay.
Excellent.
So this is an up or down vote for the whole package,
You can,
or you can amend parts of it.
And if we hadn't been snowed out, we could have made the changes a month ago.
That's true, sorry.
Are you responsible for that storm?
No, but, I know, we could have charged through the storm.
Speak for yourself, I was gonna call in sick.
No, you were very in favor of canceling.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm glad, you know, as it turned out, I'm glad we did too, because it got worse as the night got worse.
Well, a certain reporter sitting in this room showed up for the meeting, didn't get the word.
I'm so sorry.
I'll talk to
Thank you,
Barry
Wes.
about that, I'll blame Barry, no.
I got a call at 7 o'clock saying, where are you guys?
Okay. How you doing?
okay,
What's next?
the town meeting warrants?
Do we have any other questions for Mr.
Thanks, Russ.
Newell?
Just one question on 8.6, the posting of minutes electronically. It doesn't preclude if there's a technology improvement or something happens within our government, that posting of these things, it doesn't seem like it would be terribly difficult.
It doesn't say you can't do it,
Right.
it just says you don't have to.
And
Have to
and
do
to
it.
keep it
Right,
on for
right,
5
but I
years,
mean-
I mean,
Yeah,
and so,
Website would be so.
But I mean, it would exhibit better control over the timeliness of these, if somebody has nothing better to do than to watch.
I have to say, like, for our meetings, which
Yeah.
are videotaped and generally broadcast live and generally available to be viewed in person,
Hmm.
that posting, having the meetings posted, by the time you post meeting minutes, it's, I mean, we're pretty good now, like, we're gonna vote on the 11th, and then it's just another step of the, and it's not that easy, because Carol tried to do it, and something happened, and she ended up replacing the agenda, the calendar or something, so,
Well, I just don't, this
yeah.
Commonwealth has a bad reputation as far as FOIA requests, and this isn't a FOIA request, but it's, you know, it's,
Yeah.
strictly, it's,
I've actually posted a bunch of the meeting, there's this year's minutes, I took some time and posted them up in the finance page, so, but it takes someone to do it, and
Yeah.
it's,
This had its genesis at a point in time when we were not consistently filing minutes from committees. And there were requests for minutes that committees couldn't fulfill because they hadn't kept minutes.
you know,
And it was thought that if you had it out there for the public to see, its own question around what was going on.
I mean, it's not something for this particular meeting, but I think it's something that, you know, like you said, you can if you
You
are
have
able
the
to.
manpower to do
We have
it,
the manpower in place, but
but it
we
should
are,
not be required.
budgets are already stressed enough as it is, and I understand that, but I think it would be something to
trying to,
rectify
Something.
at some point.
I mean, that could be a policy of the board of selectmen that, you know, committees post their minutes on the website whenever possible. That's a good policy of the board of selectmen as opposed to a requirement of the charter.
Yeah.
I think that's a policy, and it's a policy that the board of selectmen could easily make and then change if it needed to be tweaked, or say who's gonna be responsible for it. You could say the chairs of committees are responsible for posting minutes, and then no one would.
All your chairs will resign.
Exactly.
Well, we have, you know, there are still a number of boards and committees that don't have it's any staff, have
Exactly.
anyone to take the minutes, nor
Yeah.
many have the expertise, seriously, but there's a lot of still non-tech,
Yeah,
now I don't say computer savvy, but a lot of people that just don't do that, that's not what they do.
well, and also, 10 years ago, a lot of the people that took the minutes were town employee people.
Yeah,
You know, they were regular town employees, and they were, one of their things that they did was go to evening meetings and take minutes, and so if they had to post minutes during the day, during their job, they could do that, but that's not the case anymore. A lot of the people that take minutes are not regular town employees, and they can't take time out during the day to post agendas or post minutes or do whatever else.
Sooner or later, they do have to be posted, but I mean,
Yeah.
your committee yourself,
We were fortunate, we were promised, help from town hall, it didn't come through because that
Yeah.
was just at the time that the budget was collapsing. And,
but nobody wanted to do it.
nobody wanted to do it, but Dick Anderson reluctantly stood up and did an excellent job. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you.
Not a lot of people would have done that. I'll remember that.
He didn't want it,
It's
but we.
good.
He had a good recorder thing. All right, if there's no other questions, but thank you very much, and I'm sorry we were so contentious on the first thing that took a big discussion, but it's close to our hearts, so.
Well, that's why I wanted to
think
sit
it's
by the
better,
door when we
yeah.
brought that one up.
Thank you very much, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
A
you.
lot of work.
Thank you very much for your time in doing this.
We don't want to do it this time, Wes.
Last time.
That's what I said. I was on the last
Thank you,
one.
Jim.
Yeah, you will.
But I have the sense that being chair means you're responsible for getting that report done, and that's a rough one. Putting it all together in a way that people can understand. Okay, so what's your town meeting work? So, let's start going.
Oh, boy. Okay.
We're gonna spend 30 minutes going through the warrant articles. So we can have our first discussion, and then we can vote next Monday on a lot of them.
Do we have information, like on
I'm
the
going to
elected
give you-
officials?
I'm going to give those to you as we run
As we
through.
speak?
Yeah.
So it'll be an oral discussion?
For now, yes.
Okay.
There's no motion to
So Article 1 of the special town meeting, Madam
it,
Chair.
so. Sure.
This is a snow and ice deficit, $275,000.
Is that the total?
Yes,
Okay.
that takes into consideration the last
Last
storm.
storm?
For all the bills we
How
have
much?
right now, $275. Add 92 to that, and that's about your snow budget for this year.
Right. And it was a 246 or something, and
368, yeah, it was a 246
608
before this last storm.
as of August, March 31st.
Yeah. So, Article 1 of the annual is our perfunctory ability to do business article.
Done.
Regular authorizations.
Do we read all of these? You have to read them all.
It's pretty much remove the House so vote, was this article,
Right.
when you're on the floor, it's just to move the town so
Yeah.
vote. And it's very simple, these are the regular authorizations that allow the town to do business.
Except Chapter 90 money, do grant money, PL 874, those types of things. Article 2 is the elected officials article. The total of that article is $58,662, broken down into the following
Wait, 58,000, what?
662.
And
That is broken down into the following. The moderator, $606. The town clerk, $39,186. The select board, one selectman at $4,590. 4 at $35.70 each, or a total of $14,280.
35 what?
$35.70.
70.
Is that 2% increase?
It is not, it is a 1.5% increase at this point in time for the clerk and the moderator, and no increase for the board of selectmen.
This was it last year too?
right, for the selectmen.
And look, do I have this right, it's 45,
90,
90
For the chair,
for the chair,
One.
one,
and then
and everybody
35,
else gets
70.
35.
35.70.
Wow,
Well,
big difference.
$1,000.
Sounds like
$1,020.
Yes.
Because it was 3,500 and 4,500, that's why I'm somewhere, I checked around. the-
Last year, they got an increase.
I did it last year, and I think that, yeah,
Yeah.
I was amazed, because when I was a selectman, it was 25.
Yeah, they got 2% last year from 3,500 to 3,570. So,
Okay.
last year. Article 3, which is the town budget, 59,343,453. Article 4, which is the sewer department, $1,050,101. Article 5 is to allow the town to receive money from the Commonwealth for Chapter 90 for the road maintenance on accepted roads. Article 6 is to establish a reserve fund this year at $290,000, which falls into the policy that was adopted.
0.5% of the operating budget, GFOB.
we're down to 190 now, right?
290. You're at 188 right now.
No,
So
I'm
this year we
looking at the
started,
minutes.
the fight with we started with a $200,000
We've
reserve
already
fund.
claimed, yeah, we've
And
spent a
we've
lot
only,
on that,
we've
quite
had,
a few months ago.
yeah,
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
yes.
9,500.
So one of the financial policy changes that was made last summer was to increase the amount of the reserve fund so that the finance committee would have 0.5% of the operating budget as a reserve fund.
Oh, this is the same fund, and we're just increasing.
Correct.
Yes,
That was up.
the reserve
Okay,
fund.
Yeah,
now I
yeah,
understand.
correct, yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
Article 7 is Iceland, $10,666,905.
Say it again, 10 million what?
$10,666,905. Article 8 is the establishment or continuation of the establishment of revolving funds. I note number 8 is a new revolving fund relative to the tax title collection fund.
So that article's gonna be, it's gonna be contingent on the other one, it's gonna have to come first.
17 is going to come first.
Yeah. Article 17 is establishing the tax title.
Correct.
So that'll be contingent on 17.
Article 9
And
is,
let me ask you a
Oh, I'm
question
sorry.
about that.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. So this is 60,000,
it's
resolving fund up to 60,000
correct,
is the spending limit.
correct.
But the 17 is that gonna fund, we'll wait till we get there, but is that gonna fund 60,000, or I thought it was a different amount? Is it 50 million?
No, 17.
This is just to accept the provisions.
So is there there's no funding,
The
no, but
funding-
the funding's in the budget this year.
Right.
And so this year, when there's tax title property that's sold, the tax title expenses that are recouped from the sale of those properties is gonna go into the revolving fund to establish the revolving fund. And then in the future, you will not budget it in the budget, it'll be through the revolving fund.
That's my understanding, yes.
How about the proceeds from sales of tax properties?
That goes into the general fund,
It will still be?
yes.
Good.
It's all the expenditure.
This is for just from
Yeah.
redemptions,
That's just for operating funds, so
Yeah.
there no cost to do that.
that's my understanding of it anyway.
Okay.
Article 9 is the capital outlay fund. And the capital plan is
In the back.
in the back.
There's a couple changes to this from when we had it presented before. There was money in for the middle school flooring, and that was actually damaged by water, and so it was replaced by insurance, and so now we have an article to accept the insurance proceeds.
Right, that's a little later
Right.
on, yeah.
There's a couple changes where things are gonna be done, switching, the town hall roofing to free cash and the Sagamore Fire Station to borrowing, and,
Yeah, it says free cash in the book
Yeah.
here.
and these are, they're correct in
This
the
is
book,
correct, yeah.
but since we,
You have to revote them.
capital is gonna go to next, on the 25th. And the Monument Beach ramp funding from the capital plan will be $200,000 of, borrowing and $100,000 from the waterways fund. That was finalized with CPC, but other than that, it's as was presented, previously, the finance committee.
Article 10 is to just hear reports from and recommendations from various committees. I believe the Charter Committee will make a report. I believe the Police Facilities Committee will make a report. I'm not sure if the
School building, I think, is ready
Yes, they
to,
is going to make a report. Thank you,
Yeah.
Peter and MJ.
yeah, I encourage them to make it short, though. Not a
5
half-hour
minutes.
presentation, but rather.
And any other committee that may want to get up and chat about what they're doing. So, that's Article 10. Article 11, one unpaid bill of fire department previous year bill of $462. It's for a firefighter. The bill came in after the end of the fiscal year. Article 12 is the administrative and operating expense of the Community Preservation Committee, that's $50,000.
Do we wanna vote that tonight? So we've heard that, last meeting. Do you wanna take that vote?
Sure.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion on $50,000 for the operating expenses? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Perfect, unanimous. Thank you.
Article 13 is the CPC. Budget. And the various places that it will come from.
Do you wanna go with these tonight?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? Unanimous. Article 14.
Article 14 is community preservation funding for the Main Street Buzzards Bay Park, and it is broken out as follows. It's, the total is $425,000. $182,860
will come from open space reserves. $156,599.25 will come from open space revenues. And $85,540.75 will come from article closeout. And that's primarily from open space field upgrade monies that are left over there, coming back.
So a motion on Article 14,
Move approval.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention?
Article 15 is CPC for the Monument Beach boat ramp, boat launch, excuse me, in the amount of $300,000.
Is that recreation?
Is that what it was?
No, this is the
Right.
CPC part of it from recreation. Is that recreation? I think it's recreation.
I don't have that noted, so I believe you're right, but I don't have it noted.
No, it says open space community preservation committee. Is open space or recreation funds?
I'm sorry, I'm reading it,
Yeah,
I thought it said CPC.
it is, but it comes from a particular fund of CPC.
I will have to hunt that down, I think it's rec, but
I think we have motion to approve as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee, so however they funded it is
So moved.
good. Say
It
it.
works.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, awesome.
Article 16 is rescinding authorization on unissued debt that has been determined no longer needed. And these are all ISWIM projects that will be rescinded for authorization in the amount of $650,835.
$650,835.
$658.35.
Okay.
That's not what I said?
Um,
Okay. Well, the projects came in under budget, they got a better deal on trade-ins, all kinds of different things that happen with these.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
So nothing really happens with this except for it reduces the amount of borrowing
Right.
that's authorized. It doesn't,
there's no you don't.
there's no cash,
right.
there's nothing. It just means that that they don't have that obligation on the books.
Right. The $400,000 on the new DPW facility was primarily the in-kind,
Okay.
okay?
So, would this money stay in Iceland?
It's really not money, it's authorization for borrow, it's authorization.
Right, so they were authorized to borrow, for example, $400,000 for the DPW facility, and they didn't need to borrow the money. So now instead of having a liability of $400,000 on their balance sheet, it will take the liability off
Okay,
because they don't owe the
Yeah,
money.
They may have been authorized for $1 million, they used 600, just 400.
Right, so it's been as a liability and they have to take it off.
All right.
We don't have to vote that this time because it's.
Article 17 reverts back to the other article,
Yeah.
with the revolving fund for the tax title.
Was there a reason for doing it this way? Did you just think it makes more sense?
Just
or
makes- it
Get
makes
it out
more
of the
sense.
budget or?
Right, you start to use what you have coming in
Okay.
and run it appropriately.
What are you gonna do, you fund this like once a year, Tom?
You'll be authorized once a year.
Okay.
Anything in addition to the amount authorized goes back to the general fund. You can't
So
keep,
you allow them down to 60. So you're not putting proceeds from sales in here
correct.
because it has to be.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Article 18, approved compensated absences, 150,000. And that's based on a couple of both actual knowledge of retirements, it pays for
Is that depleted now?
It's, yeah, there's a very little bit left in it. We know we have 2 that are going, in the next year, and the anticipation of up to 3 more, that will retire, and there's, sick leave buyback provisions in various contracts.
So we won't vote any of these now, though, well, this will be our first discussion of them, we only voted the CPC because we've had them. Probably
Excuse me,
presented.
did you say 150,000 even?
Yes. Article 19 is to close out and transfer available balance of open space and CPC funds for a total of $74,447.17. This is just article close
Well, there are
outs.
actually several different places,
Right.
so open space, 715,000.
Community housing, 25,000.
Undesignated fund balance, 74,000. Did we discuss this last week? We did. We did.
We did discuss.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did, so we can vote this one too, and this, but this actually does put the money back
Back
into
into
the designated funds
funds,
where
right.
it was originally taken from.
Move approval, because it needs to happen.
Yes,
So they
we're
have to
very,
spend.
yes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention?
Article 20, MJ referred to earlier, is insurance proceeds. And fix the gym floor, $50,234.54.
How much? 50,254.
To $50,234.54.
Is this already been spent?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
floor's
they
been done.
repaired, yeah, so they had water damage, they repaired the floor that they were going to repair in the capital outlay plan and received insurance for it, so this is, very good
And
insurance.
the check is in limbo?
The check is in an insurance recovery account. Anything that comes in over $10,000 needs town meeting authorization to get out. Anything under can go back. So if you have a fender bender, you can kick that out from your, but if you have something in substance, I think it's 10,000.
We had the sped bus that got burned or
Right.
whatever, we had to, this is.
I had one for 20 last year.
Yeah,
But the money has been deposited. it's
Correct.
sitting in
Yeah.
limbo.
so,
Article 21 is capital expenditure stabilization reserve fund. Any fees if ISOM hosts community fees in excess of $600,000 would be directed to this account. They say 600, I think I meant 90.
you meant 600. And I,
600's in the budget.
Nice
Increase the
try.
budget.
I know it's the first time it's in FY16 and I caught that too.
Kept trying.
No. And Dr. Town's fairly new. It's really been a will of the town to try to wean off ISOM for paying for a lot of different things.
No, I
This is one
understand
way
that,
to do
that's
it.
why I was saying that.
Yeah.
This is my pet. that-
And I joke with MJ every
Well, it started out at what,
What?
something less.
400, I think.
Well, yeah, so
That was the
actually,
problem one
yeah,
time.
no, so what it is now this year it's budgeted and revenue is 600,000, but in the ISO budget, their budget has an allowance of 800,000, which will give them enough money in their budget to actually pay what's projected.
Right, we gotta go back to town meeting to get that fixed.
Yeah, so this is a good, this works pretty well.
Article 22 is OPEB, other post-employment benefit liabilities at 200,000.
So where is this coming from free cash?
Yes.
Because some of it should be coming from ISO.
Let me see how we can break that out.
I don't
I
wanna-
think she's working on.
Yeah, so
that.
that's, some of it should be coming from
Yeah.
ISO, whatever amount it is
Yeah,
fine.
proportional,
What was the amount?
200.
It's gonna be
But
200,000.
it should be proportional, so
Yeah.
retained earnings out of one and whatever, maybe from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll talk to her about that.
Yep,
I'm sure she's doing it, I just don't have
yeah,
to.
we don't know it yet, yes.
Articles 23 and 24 are petition road betterments.
Oh. Wanna take some notes? huh?
No, we're not going to take some roads, no. What road betterments allow is for people who live on private roads, with associations or not, with 51% of the land owners, not necessarily homeowners, road frontage owners who sign on to petition, they fix their roads, and they are able, under the statute, to put it on their taxes as a betterment, so they can pay it over time at a rate determined by the legislation.
Mhm.
That what this allows them to do is get the road fixed, because it's generally pretty expensive, break it out over time if they wish to, up to 10 years, at a rate, I think, of 5%, which is set by statute. We've been very successful in some other areas in town. There was
Does
a,
this bring this up to, do these roads now done up to town standards
No.
when it's done this way?
no,
They're not up to acceptance?
they're not sidewalked, they're not up to new
And
subdivision.
drains and all that.
Right, well, there is drainage that's been put in on some.
That's what I was,
Where
that's what I was
where
asking.
needed.
Yeah,
That's up to the highway surveyor.
right, you're right.
So, okay, I have to ask. So if there is a private road in town that has a drainage issue, the town will put in, no.
There has to be a betterment. It's a contract. You get our price on the goods.
Yeah,
We will help you, we will estimate the cost, and then the engineering office has a formula
yeah,
that they work out, and we have to have a public hearing on it. We send you out a notice, your assessment on your 150 foot of road frontage is $4,000. It could be $8,000, as an
yeah,
example.
whatever.
And you pay that back on your as a separate line on your tax. It's also tax deductible on your federal income tax and your state income tax over
That's
a
nice.
period of time.
It's not supposed to be.
Yeah, I know, but
Tax man here.
You read the statute.
right, but
Well, you're not a tax advisor. you
I'm not a
can't-
tax advisor and I don't play one on TV, but if the bottom line on your tax bill says $3,050 paid, do what you think is right.
I thought you were a tax advisor.
So,
But you have to have a certain, people on the road, a majority of the people
it's 51% of the land
owner
frontage.
have to agree that they wanna have this done.
So, for instance, we had 3 come in, but 1 we're not doing this year, because it connects with other roads and it makes very little sense to do this one piece, and, so there's going to be a neighborhood discussion, I hope, relative to getting more of that done.
So this doesn't cost the town anything, you just provide
It only,
the vehicle for them.
correct, there's some administrative
Yeah.
costs, but they even pay, the folks pay the filing fees, and because it's on your deed. It goes with the property, not with the owner, so
Yeah,
if you sell your property 2 years and you got a 10-year amortization on that, it goes to the property. Yeah.
okay, that's 23 and 24.
25, it is a rewrite of we did this article, it was an easement, for One Trowbridge. What was on file, what ended up to be the final was not in concurrence with the article that was voted, the language is different. Town council said it didn't meet the needs of the article. So we are putting it back on to allow the selectmen to negotiate the easement in the best interest of the town on One Trowbridge. It's already, the plan is on file with the clerk. It's just a rehash of an article that needed to be revoted.
Maybe this is a non-financial issue, we can skip it. According to this other guy.
I don't disagree with that, I don't think,
Let's jump into the news.
Not till the legislature votes.
so anyway, so that's where we are with that.
I don't know if it's financial, it's an easement, where the town is giving an easement to a person.
It is not, it's like the easements we granted to the Corps of
Let's
Engineers.
skip some of these last ones.
Article 26, is a, change, of the bylaws from the bylaw committee, making changes to how the finance committee is appointed.
So this actually, was proposed last year, when we had a long time where we didn't have someone appointed because we were trying to meet this bylaw, which says that at least one member from 5 of the 7 villages. And so, because the people that had volunteered to serve on the finance committee, we wouldn't have had met that. The moderator couldn't appoint someone to the finance committee until someone came from a Eden village. And so, you know, we've made changes before. This was a change, it used to be, you had to be from every village, I think, and so we've changed it once. But I think it's really important that I think he'll probably make an effort to equitably do it around town, but if he has people that are volunteering to be on the committee and they're not from the appropriate village, we need the people to serve. We really need that. I think it's a reasonable bylaw.
You all supplying to me, and simple as that.
So how would it
Well, I think we
read?
had 15
It
members
would
at the
just,
time that it worked
You're
too,
gonna take it all out,
but now we have 12.
It's seven members on the committee, right?
No, it's supposed to be
12. On the bylaw committee?
No, this is the finance committee.
Finance.
Oh, are we at 26?
yeah, it was
The
recommended by the
bylaw
bylaw committee.
finance committee membership. Oh, bylaw finance committee membership. Oh, I see.
Yeah, and actually, I don't see the regular wording in the article. It just is going to say,
We're just gonna drop the signs at the building.
yeah, we'll have to,
I'll have a copy of the bylaw as a handout.
you know, we'll probably have to add it to the motion thing, with the motion handout,
Yeah.
or people will be confused.
So this is very confusing, the way it's written, okay.
Article 27. This is,
Oh, this is me, I'm gonna pay attention.
this is a, right, for the parking, for the bus area, I believe, for the Cody School. This needs to be, the Cody School, we are a purchase and sale agreement, we went out to bid, it's about ready to close. And Bob Troy, I think in an abundance of caution, believes because there is, there was an agreement to work on the parking lot across the street in that area, across the street from the ball field. That was one of the things the school department required, wanted.
Well, it's right next to, it's all,
No, this is. Off-site improvement,
adjacent to the former.
yeah, okay, that allows, right, correct.
It's, I think it's the parking area.
Where the buses are.
Where the
yeah.
buses are now,
park,
yeah.
Yeah,
Because there is an agreement to improve a parking area across the street as well.
This is an easement though.
Right, and it's, Bob thinks this is a really, something that he wants to do out of an abundance of caution.
well,
We're selling this place.
Right,
are we selling the parking lot, or are we giving them the easement so that they can have access to town-owned property?
No,
Park your residence.
That's
no, they're buying,
they're buying the stuff. The land.
the town property adjacent to the former school.
I think we're giving them an
Yeah,
easement to
giving
have
them an
access, because so that they can use it for parking and they can have access to it.
Yeah, and the town still has the ball field.
Right, and I think we may actually
But
retain the
is,
parking.
isn't that
So
one
how
of
do we
the,
find out more? I have to do this.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, so we
get
need
you
a
the detail on
clarification
that.
on this,
also,
not
is that, space there, is that one of the spaces they're now looking, there was a potential proposal site for the new police station?
the ball field.
And the parking lot?
No, the ball field itself, there's a sufficient, where there's already been a town meeting to bifurcate the property,
Oh, okay.
okay? The property's already been bifurcated, through the planning board, about.
So that would be the field itself, the ball field itself, now that would be that other
Correct.
item, okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Article, and I will get clarification.
Yeah.
Article 28, I would prefer, this deals with a disability retirement. I'm not sure we're there yet. This is in case we need it. I prefer not to discuss it in any
Okay.
detail this evening.
Okay, that's fine.
Please let me know.
Yeah, well, we have the 25th.
Right,
We're waiting before town meeting.
Well, yeah,
Or we might not.
we have a meeting on this on some items that deal with this later on in the week. I can't.
Yeah, no,
later
that's
on this
fine,
week.
so we'll talk about the 25th or before town meeting, or what, I
We
can
can
do
do it
that.
tonight.
Article 29 is the charter. And Article 30 is an article, what they call Article 97 restriction. It's kind of a trade-off. The landfill needs to cross property owned by Fish and Game or Fish and Wild State Agency to bring the wastewater pipe onto the base to get rid of, to dispose of leachate through the wastewater system on the base after it goes through a treatment process on the landfill site. Because there is an interest in state land, there is a requirement that there be an offset. If we're taking land, there has to be an offset. The proposal, when we went to Boston, and it seems to be agreeable to all parties, is to take a piece of land up off of 25 coming down, that is already under the care and control of the Conservation Commission. There's already a conservation restriction on the land, and to put an additional layer of state protection, conservation on the land. It's already under restriction, so we're not adding any new land, it just adds another layer. People hunt, if you, on that piece of property, I come down 25, I see the pickups parked there frequently, and, so it's not, they're not taking any more land that's not already restricted, it's just adding a state restriction to it also. If you need, Dr. Tony, if you need any more information on that, I talked to either Brendan or Dan, or myself.
Thanks for getting these, that's very helpful to have tonight. Okay, so that's our, going through the articles. Almost there, we're like 4 minutes, we're gonna make it. I can find my agenda. Minutes of previous meetings, we got the minutes of April 11th from Carol.
Can I make a suggestion before we move on there?
Oh, yeah,
We've got a couple of articles we could go ahead and,
Do you wanna vote
vote to give us a little more time.
on Monday?
Next, yes.
Okay.
So I've move approval for, excuse me, Article 1, the regular authorizations.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous? Okay.
And definitely Article 10, committee reports. Move approval of Article 10.
Second.
Second, Mr. Town. All in favor?
While I can't vote on it, I'd recommend doing the unpaid bills article.
Second.
No, I didn't.
Article 11.
No, I make the motion since it's my.
Second, there's Article 11, Bill Town. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I forgot to say discussion on there. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstention?
One abstention.
One abstention.
And I would also suggest Article 16.
Okay.
unissued debt.
So
Is there a
moved.
second?
Yeah, I moved it,
Oh,
yeah.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, abstention? It's unanimous.
And I'd also move approval of Article 17, because that accepts the provisions.
For the tax title,
Tax title.
revolving account.
Second.
Do you want-
No, I had a question, though, go ahead with your,
We can debate the dollars and the other article.
yeah.
Okay.
Second.
Second, Bill. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous?
Question, Madam Chair, did you voted Article 14, did you vote Article 15 and I didn't mark it down, or did you not vote Article 15?
We did vote Article
Did.
15.
Okay, I just
Article-
didn't.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Article-
Passed at 8-0.
And that was at the Mo Beach?
Yeah,
We did we voted as recommended by CPC.
Okay, I'm
So
sorry,
we just
yeah.
need to know where it's coming from,
Yeah.
when we, so we can, discuss it appropriately.
okay.
Probably push that off. One time.
Uh,
The whole time.
let's do 21, I suppose community fee.
Move approval of Article 21.
Is there a second?
Second.
900, is that 600?
600.
You want to amend it?
Yeah, wait a minute, that doesn't match the high school's budget.
It's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to, that's okay?
Yes.
I'm not balanced, my accounting books are wrong.
Right, but they receive more income than what is in their budget, but they can't spend it if it's not budgeted.
So they can give it to us.
Yes,
But
they,
we
but
might not
they
be able
need
to
to have it in their
separate-
budget in order to spend it to give it to us.
Right.
So this is, and if they don't have it in their budget, especially, this is what, maybe we won't vote this tonight.
I already had it voted FinCom, so you have to finish it.
No, it's just that if they don't have it in their budget, then they have no money to give us, because they can only spend, they can't exceed their budget. So if they don't need to spend it, it'll become unspent money in their budget, but if they do need it, it's there in their budget to spend.
So they can give us extra if they want,
If it's,
and we
if
can
they,
accept it.
If they earn it, yes.
alright,
It's a, enterprise fund accounting, I guess.
Yeah, that's given.
well, I questioned it, I mean, I did
Well,
question it at first,
yeah,
because I
that's
didn't
why-
understand why it was like that, but Linda gave a really good explanation, and,
It wasn't a mistake then.
no,
No.
it was not a mistake, it was intentional, and it was very well done
Okay.
intentionally. Okay, so after that discussion, any further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous, okay, so that's it.
Could I just suggest you do 24 and 23 and 24?
I'm not gonna, well, we could. What happened with the question about whether it was legal for us to do more than minor repairs? Is
Yeah, that will come up, I think, as, when that road, that specific road comes up under question, that's not on the town meeting.
Okay, so we don't need to address that?
I'm gonna talk to the moderator, but I don't believe,
There's a question raised by a person that the law about private loans allows the town to do temporary repairs. But I don't think that that's what this is. I think this is a completely different issue where they accept, we're allowing them the vehicle for them to fund. It's
Right.
just like the Title V funding, so I think it's a totally different thing. I just think.
but I'll clarify that, but I think you can vote it.
Would you like it to be voted for
So it
something?
doesn't matter, no, I was just trying to get you,
No, let's,
Showing
let's,
your time up on
let's, no,
Monday,
it's
that's all.
9 o'clock, and so we have.
That's
let's wait
true.
till we find
I
out.
missed my screen tonight.
Okay, so minutes of previous meeting choices, the minutes of April 11th. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move it to move along.
Yes?
I'll second it.
Very good.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone like to see those? Any opposed, abstentions, okay. Any, particular future topics or schedules? We're meeting Monday, the 25th,
Yes,
and we'll be
thank
voting
you.
a lot of articles. Town administrator comment?
9 o'clock, Madam Chair.
So do I, okay. But we have, finance committee comment, I have placed a permanent agenda item for brief update on school committee. School building committee, I don't think there's anything to report. They're gonna be having a survey, so watch for it. Any other comment from finance committee? Public comment?
I'll put a paid political advertisement out there. Get your comments to MJ by the 30th. You can start writing your comments now so that we have our verbal comments. It's very beneficial earlier rather than later.
Yes. If we voted your article, you can get it to me. Next, you can start with comments.
Maybe
If we follow your
Yeah.
format, it's all correct, you just all paste.
Yes,
That'll
yes,
make it
but
easier.
you can cut and paste if you have a repetitive article, but you need to cut and paste and get it to me and say, I am cutting and pasting, and this is what it's going to
That's
be.
right.
And
Any
then the
public
next one
comments?
was Jared McDonald.
Yeah.
Mike,
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was a nice-
very good, Madam Chair.